Welcome back. So this afternoon, the National Assembly will be voting on whether South Africa should sever its ties with Israel. Meanwhile, the Israeli government has decided to withdraw its diplomatic representative from South Africa. Last week, South Africa announced that it had recalled its last remaining diplomats from Tel Aviv. Well, SABC News reporter Khayelihle Khumalo joins us live from outside the Israeli embassy in Pretoria. Khayelihle, I think let's start there with what you're seeing outside the Israeli embassy this morning.
Well, that's right, Naledi. It is a vantage point where we're coming to you live from, most importantly, after that announcement by the Israeli Foreign Affairs Ministry that their ambassador here in South Africa has been recalled pending a consultation in Jerusalem. And we do know that with South Africa and Israel, really, there has been quite a very heated exchange, if you like, in light of the current situation in Gaza. We've seen South Africa calling for the International Criminal Court to investigate the war crimes that might have been committed in Gaza, especially around the healthcare facilities and a number of civilians where the death toll is almost 13,000, and really just a humanitarian catastrophe that is unfolding. But most importantly, Naledi, we saw the ambassador as well being summoned by the Department of International Relations and Cooperation of South Africa about his conduct as well, where the department was reminding him to do everything in accordance with the Vienna Convention in terms of his conduct and behavior. So South Africa really expressing its displeasure about the situation in Gaza, but also called him to convey the message to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government. So quite a very serious situation. And there has been a barrage of reactions in light of this decision by the Israeli government. You do have the likes of the South African Jewish Board of Deputies who are saying this is very concerning, but they do hope that it's a temporary measure with this particular decision being reviewed during the course of the day. But then you do have the likes of Africa for Palestine who are saying this is quite a very important step and also a very bold decision, really saying they're quite delighted about this particular decision.
Let's talk a little bit about what we're going to expect this afternoon, because Khayelihle, obviously a keen eye then being put on the virtual BRICS meeting that's set to take place this afternoon, and it's focused on Gaza, and not just with the current member states, but the BRICS plus member states that will officially join the bloc in January. I mean, what's the expectation of that meeting?
There's a great deal of expectation with regards to that meeting, Naledi. As you know, that South Africa currently is a chairperson of BRICS, so President Cyril Ramaphosa is going to chair that particular virtual session, and he's going to be joined by his counterparts from BRICS, the likes of Chinese President Xi Jinping, who's confirmed that he's going to attend. But you do have a country like India, where we do know that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is not going to attend. In fact, New Delhi is going to be represented by their Foreign Affairs Minister. And we do know that India, for example, has been sympathizing with Israel, where it's been denouncing Hamas, but also in terms of its posture, really saying what's happened in Israel was really unforgivable. But also something that is quite important, Naledi, like you alluded, the new members of BRICS, the likes of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, and many others as well, the likes of Argentina as well, they will attend this particular meeting. So you have a country like Saudi Arabia as well that has been very vocal about the current situation in the Gaza Strip. We saw recently they held an Islamic Arab ministers summit where they were really emphasizing the issue of Gaza, saying that the issue of the two-state solution should be prioritized, but also calling for the release of those who have been held hostage. Yeah. So it's going to be quite a very important session, Naledi. We do understand as well that the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres is going to attend this particular session. And we know that the UN has been also vocal when it comes to the atrocities that have been committed in Gaza. In fact, we've seen quite a very unprecedented developments where a high number of the UN staffers have also been caught in the crossfire. And also you've had Mr. Guterres saying that this has really just been so unprecedented and unparalleled. And in fact, to quote him, and some of the remarks that he has used is that he has really just made a reference of the fact that Gaza is really turning into a graveyard.
Yeah, what's interesting is you're getting reports from media houses such as Al Jazeera that talks are underway between the Palestinian militant group Hamas and Israel about a temporary truce for the swapping over of hostages and prisoners. I mean, do we have an update on just how much we know about, those talks and just the likelihood really of a truce, Khayelihle?
Well, that's right, Naledi. So far, we do understand that the state of Qatar has been very instrumental in terms of mediation and organizing those talks. In fact, the leader of Hamas in Qatar, where he's based, has been meeting with other interlocutors as well, trying to find a solution in this regard. So far, what has been proposed is that it could be a 5-day truce and also the release of about 50 to 100 hostages. But what has been a very categorical precondition is that it shouldn't be the Israeli military. But also something that is going to be interesting, Naledi, will have to be the developments in South African Parliament. As you know, that the EFF brought that motion calling for South Africa to cut off the diplomatic ties with the state of Israel until the human rights of the Palestinians are respected. But also the issue of the current situation in Gaza has been really a dominant issue. But then you do have other political parties in Parliament who have been saying that if South Africa is cutting off the diplomatic ties with Israel, it's going to deprive itself of an opportunity as a very important player in the Middle East. But also South Africa's diplomatic mission for Palestine in Jerusalem might also be under, quite a very serious situation there. So there's quite a lot at stake here, especially because you do have those who are saying that, well, it's quite important that we do see the end of this conflict.
There are so many moving parts on a global scale at this point, Khayelihle. You've even got the Arab League Foreign Affairs Minister going to China. The significance of that?
I think it's quite important because what has been a message from the Arab countries is really they're rallying behind the people of Gaza. So hence they've decided to go to Beijing. But also we do understand during the course of today as well, they will have another meeting with Sergei Lavrov, the Russian Foreign Affairs Minister. So they're trying to galvanize this international support, for example, so that institutions like the United Nations Security Council can really see that this is quite a very serious issue, especially because in this regard, words like genocides have just been used. But what has been the argument from the government of Netanyahu is that they want to demilitarize Gaza. In fact, they go as far as talking about the new administration that will be very quite fair in terms of understanding the quiet situation that they are facing at this rate.
Yeah, over the past few weeks, if you had been outside the Israeli embassy, you would have seen so much activity outside of there, so much protest. I mean, would you describe it as empty outside the embassy now that we know that Ambassador Belotsakovsky has been withdrawn?
Well, it's incredibly empty, Naledi. As you know, that for the past couple of weeks, we've seen so many marches from so many political parties, whether ANC, from EFF, and many other parties as well who are sympathizing with Israel. So the situation today really, it's incredibly different from what you've seen previously because all the parties that had been coming here, they've been very strong in terms of their call for the cessation of hostilities. But also you've had those who have been saying, look, Israel does have a right of self-defense, but then you do have those who are saying what is happening in Gaza is untenable, especially because the civilians have been affected, especially when you look at the healthcare facilities like Al-Shifa Hospital, I mean, where we've seen those premature babies being moved to Egypt. So it's been a very concerning situation.
Yeah, well, let's leave it there. Khayelihle Khumalo speaking to us from Pretoria outside the Israeli embassy.